Polytunnel chickens. These birds went through winter in this tunnel, and all that time they've had this electric mobile net fence around the tunnel. While there was snow, they mostly stayed really inside the tunnel. They don't really like to walk through snow. Sometimes on a nice sunny day they would venture out a little bit, but not too much. But now winter is finished, but the growing season hasn't really started yet. Although these ladies are now grazing a little bit. What she's looking for is the first little bits of green grass sticking up. But most of the activity was in the tunnel here. And before winter started, this was completely full with vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, lettuce, ginger, and quite a few more things. So very green, and the green was roughly until ceiling height. Then when that all was dead or dying and no longer producing, we put the chickens in. And mostly it was them who took all that high growth away. They just dug it over, completely ate whatever was still green and edible. And then we added layer upon layer of hay, or straw rather, as the manure load became too much and it became too smelly. And then we just added another layer of hay, so I think there's maybe a foot of straw. I keep saying hay, but it's straw that we put down. Almost a foot of straw on here. And I sprinkle their feed on and into it, as you can see here. And they dig, and they dig, and they incorporate their manure into the soil and the straw. Did I say hay again? I think so. Anyway, there's very little real intact bits of chicken droppings anywhere. There's a bit there, but most of it gets dug in almost immediately. That reduces the smell for one, but it also does its job of incorporating it, and so it starts composting way quicker. At the moment the smell is, well, you can smell that there are animals living here, but it's definitely not a horrible smell at all, I think. So if we dig down a little bit, this is all very pliable, soft. Gets a bit harder down here, but it looks good. This looks like soil that you would want to plant your vegetables in. Now it's the 8th of April right now. I think we have about a month left before we can really start planting in here, although certain seeds could already be planted, but for now I'm happy with the chickens here. If you just laid an egg, almost certainly that's the egg coal, and the egg box is here. We actually do have a young lady sitting on eggs, broody already, very early in the season. Oops, she's got company. They're all laying eggs, the first 3 you see, but then there's a very small chicken sitting behind the other one there. She's actually sitting on eggs. The other one is just putting an egg in the same place right now, which is not ideal. But I've marked the eggs that the little one is being broody on with a pencil stripe, so I can always remove the fresh eggs again, and she can keep working on the ones that she's laying or has gathered from the other ladies, and is producing chicks, hopefully. So that will take almost another 3 weeks before that is done. So I really don't want to move them before then, not before the chicks have hatched. And that's okay, because if I start planting after that in here, then there should be plenty of time for the plants to establish themselves and start growing for the season. The top layer in here, the straw and the manure, is extremely rich. Yeah, they've been in here since November, I guess. I would have to look that up, but something like that. So that is quite a few months of manure heaping up. I've never removed it, I've just added new straw. So probably that is way too rich for some of those plants. So what I'll do is loosely rake up the top layer of straw and manure. Leave a little bit behind, but most of it I'll take out and I'll compost that. So within 3 weeks of active turning of that compost, that should have really rotted down to functional compost. No longer looking like straw, but like rich, dark compost. And I can add that in the tunnel or in other vegetable growing areas. So all in all, it's a pretty good way of using a tunnel in winter, even in a very cold climate. Here in Sweden at the 60th parallel. Long winters usually. Actually, there should still be a meter of snow on the ground, but yeah, weather, climate, you know, it's all changing. So we've been snowless, apart from the old night covering which melts again during the day or the next day. But still, we've productively used this tunnel throughout winter. We've had a good production of eggs since about 2 months now. They do stop mostly during winter with the climate as it is. But it's been very good for a few months now. And during all that time, if I wouldn't have the chickens in here, this would just be doing nothing. And now they're soil building. It's a pretty good setup.